Only he could talk about how he had nothing to say for 5 minutes. Look, I say that, but that's totally not true. I could talk about it for much longer. I'm not sure what to do with that. We didn't mention during the announcements, not Jesse's fault, I'm sure it wasn't on the sheet, but we have placed some of the sermons, so we stream live every Sunday morning and we record those, and so those sermons for the last 6 weeks or so are available on our website. Go to our website, you can watch them and see that. We'll keep up with about a month of past sermons, but we had a lot of guest speakers over the summer, so we wanted to have all those up. So they're up now if you want to go back and check out what Cheryl had to say, or Gerald had to say, or Jesse had to say, or Wes. They're on there, and so please go take a look at that if you get a chance. Wow, we're approaching the time the kids go back to school. We're on the cusp of that. As we've gone through the summer, we've been having this series about being on vacation or going camping. We're a church that camps a lot. Lots of our people away camping even this weekend. And we had asked everybody to send in their camping photos because we're like, well, everybody here camps except for the pastor. Well, I camp, but at Best Westerns. So it's just different. And most of you haven't bothered to do that. But thank you for the ones who did. And coincidentally, and again this week if you look on the cover of the bulletin, everybody who did send in a picture and we put it on the bulletin, you skipped the Sunday that you were on the bulletin. So it's sort of like when we used to do Family of the Week, and we would announce it and that family was never in church that week. Well, as you think about family vacations and traveling camping, if you've ever been on a car trip of duration anywhere over 5 minutes with your kids, you have heard somebody say, "Are we there yet? Are we there yet? No, I'm still driving, aren't I? We didn't get there and I kept going. No, we're not there yet. Yes, and you asked me 3 minutes ago. No, we're not there. We're still going." When I was young, we used to vacation in the Okanagan. So we lived in Fort McMurray, and we would travel to Woods Lake or Kalamalka Lake. They're sister lakes in between Vernon and Kelowna. And we had a big old 1975 Suburban. It's not that one, but that's the same model. Ours didn't have the stripe on it. It was just gloriously orange, or brown, if you want to call it that. And in those days, there was not seat belts or seatbelt regulations, right? So it had 3 bench seats and then the big cargo area, and so my parents were up front, and my older sister Susan would claim the first bench. That was hers, the whole thing, that's right. And my older brother would have the 3rd bench. That was his bench, he was in there. And that left my little brother Kevin and I to find room in cargo bay with the luggage. That's how we traveled to the Okanagan every year. And my dad didn't like to stay in hotels until we got there. So it's about a 15-hour drive. So he would get us up at 3 in the morning. We'd load into the vehicle and start the drive. And we stopped for gas only. There was no trips to the Mac store along the way to get chips or anything like that. You packed everything you were eating. You packed your entertainment, card games, and all of these various things that you had to do. And I'm sure my dad must have got tired of hearing, "Are we there yet?" Because if it wasn't me saying it, it was my little brother. And if it wasn't him, it was my older brother. And if it wasn't him, it was my older sister, while she threw stuff at us in the back of the big old Suburban. You know, it's an interesting thing. I think about this all the time as we did a little driving trip of my dad driving us on these 15-plus hour marathon trip to get something. And I think about, part of it is his personality. When he drives, didn't like to be behind another vehicle. Ever. If there was a vehicle in front of him, he had to pass it. Always. And on the Trans-Canada, or the highway from Fort McMurray, there was always a vehicle in front of you. We did a lot of passing. There was a lot of my mom holding on to the handle. And the dash, I guess. My wife's familiar with that pose. Very familiar with that pose. So we started our holidays, right? We started our vacation. But for my dad, we're 15 hours from the vacation. We're a trip away from when he starts his vacation. We're on vacation, but we're not on vacation. We're already there, and we're not yet arrived. Right? We're in between. The reason we don't have a scripture reading this morning is because this is the passage. So I'm going to read it for you. It's John 2, starting at verse 1. And it says this: On the third day, a wedding took place at Cana in Galilee. Jesus' mother was there, and Jesus and his disciples had also been invited to the wedding. Cool, right? What are you talking about, Dave? I'm talking about the trip to Cana. Cana? Cheryl, give me a look. How are you now? That's right. So the Bible doesn't talk a lot about this trip. The Bible doesn't mention it except that they went to the wedding. They weren't there, they went there. So just before this, 3 days before the wedding, Jesus had been baptized. They went to the wedding. Nobody really knows where it is, by the way. Cana? They don't know. They have possible sites, but they don't know for sure. And if you look at the possible sites, there's a reason why each one of them could be it, and a reason why each one of them couldn't be it. So we're left with this sort of, we're not really sure where it is, but we know it's at least 10 miles away. Because all the sites are at least that far. Some a little further. So the disciples and Jesus are walking 10 miles to the wedding. At least 10 miles. Now, I say disciples, but there weren't 12. He's only called, well, in John, he talks about calling Andrew, Simon Peter, Nathaniel, and Philip. Since John's writing this, we can kind of assume John's in the group. So it's Jesus and 5 disciples. And they're going to this wedding. But I'm betting, and I think about this part a lot, which is maybe sad for me. But I think about this journey. What was this like for the disciples? What was this moment like? They have just been asked by this guy who maybe has a reputation, maybe doesn't, who's 30 years old, he's a carpenter. And he says, hey, why don't you come and be one of my followers? That's a rabbi-ish thing to do. So they're like, these 5 guys are like, yeah, we're going to come and go with you. We're just fishing, so that's all good. Let's do that. And so then he says, great. And then he starts walking out of town. And they're following him. At one point, one of them must have said, where are we going? what are we doing? And he's like, we're going to a party. Which is a totally un-rabbi-ish thing to do, I think. But they're like, oh, okay, we're going to a party. And somewhere during the journey, one of the disciples, I'm betting Peter, said, are we there yet? It doesn't tell us he said that. But I'm thinking, that's part of, if you're John telling the story about the wedding in Cana, and Jesus does his first miracle, are you going to talk about the journey to the wedding, or are you going to talk about the first miracle? He skips over the journey. But I think that's an interesting part of this story. This walk, this point where they're walking with Jesus, but they don't know it's Jesus. They just think it's Jesus. What are you doing? I'm following Jesus. They're not following Jesus. They're following Jesus. If you have the transcript of this, it looks really stupid in my notes. But you get what I'm saying. They don't know yet. They're with him, but they're not there yet. They're with Jesus, but they're not with Jesus, at least in their minds. Now, I don't know about you, but when you're traveling, when you're on the road, it's a kind of a guy thing to not ask for directions, right? Okay. Well, I like to have directions. I like to know where I'm going. I've discovered something. This will be completely profound for you. The road you're on dictates where you get to. Yeah, you see, you say that. Stay with me. The road we're on dictates. So I love Google Maps. And when we're driving, I want to know where I'm going. I will stop and ask for directions. You can ask my wife. I don't care. I would rather not drive around confused and causing traffic problems. I want to know where I'm going, and that I'm going to get to my destination. Now, here's the part about the road you're on dictates where you're going. So most of us have a plan in life. This is where we want to get to. This is my retirement plan. This is where I want career-wise. This is what I want to do. Here's my question to you. Are you on the road to that place? Are you on the road to your destination? I'll tell you, I've never found that road to what I would like my retirement plan to be. I've never found that road. Most people I talk to don't have that plan. They just kind of wander around and hope for the best. Yeah, do you want to retire at 55 like the old Freedom 55 the commercials used to tell us? Yeah, I want to retire at 50. Yeah, that's awesome. Are you putting away any money to retire at 55? Oh, putting away any money? No. Would that help? You know, the path you're on dictates where you go to. Are you doing the job you want to do in life? There's a great little clip you can find online of Jim Carrey speaking to a graduating class, a commencement speech. And the piece that circulates often is about 2 minutes long. And in it, Jim Carrey, Canadian comedian, if you're not following who he is, says something like this. But now I'm going to spoil it, so if you look, it won't be as good. He's better at it. But he says something like this. He tells a story about his dad, who he says was the funniest person he knew, and could totally have made a career as a comedian. But his dad didn't believe that was possible for him. And so he took a safe option and became an accountant at a company. This was safe, it would provide for his family, and everything would be fine. Some years later, his dad was let go from the company. He was, whether they downsized or he was laid off or fired, I don't remember, but he was let go from the company. And Jim Carrey says, I learned many things from my dad, but this stuck with me forever. You can fail at what you don't want to do. We always talk about, well, you should have a safe option. Get a trade, then do what you want. You do this and then go. I had a friend who was really passionate about computer graphics. He loved to do them in an era when there weren't a lot of people doing them. When computers have 56K of memory, he loved it. Well, his dad worked at the plant in Fort McMurray, or one of the plants, and said, well, you're going to get a trade. That's what you're going to do. And got him a job as a heavy-duty mechanic, and he did that job and, lived the Fort McMurray life when you're 20 and have a job that pays you way too much money and the banks will loan you everything. He had a motorcycle and a big truck and all of that, all of the toys, but he wasn't chasing his dream. He wasn't chasing what he wanted to do. And after a while, he said he hated his life. Didn't like it at all. And so what did he do? He went back to school to do computer graphics. And he's one of the guys to blame for all the changes to the Star Wars movies. So he was one of the first teams that changed the movies and so that Han Solo didn't shoot first. But he has a letter on his wall from George Lucas thanking him for his incredible work on the picture. He took the safe option because his dad told him that was the safe option. But what Jim Carrey his point was, if you can fail at what you don't want to do, why not do what you do want to do? Why not go for that? Why not shoot for that? You always can go back to something else. It's an interesting point, and what I'm saying is, what road are you on? What journey are you taking? Now, the disciples are walking with Jesus. And again, they don't actually know it's Jesus. Well, they don't know it's Jesus. They know it's Jesus. I mean, they're aware of his name. I think. It doesn't say it, but I think. And so they're wandering down this road with him, going to a party. They don't know what's about to happen. They don't know that the next 3 years is going to change the entire world forever. And they're going to play a huge part in it. They don't know yet. They have no idea. Have you ever read an incredible book or watched a great movie and wish you could watch it again for the first time? That you could just discover it. To watch Star Wars, since I already mentioned that, for the first time. To see it for the first time again. How exciting is that? I remember one of my friends was an older guy, and we were talking, and we started to talk about books, and, oh, have you read this book? No. Have you read this book? No. Have you read this book? No. And he started to write them down. He said, I'm so jealous of you at this moment in life. I was like, what are you talking about? He said, these are the 3 best books I've ever read, and you get to discover them for the first time. They're going to be brand new to you. You don't know how special this next little bit of time is going to be as you read these books. And had he not framed it that way, I don't know if I would have noticed. I would have read a great book, but I don't know if it would have been the same. And I wonder, did the disciples know? Are they walking along going, I can feel something incredible is about to happen, but I don't know what it is. I can feel it, but I don't know what it is. They weren't there yet, but they were about to be. Part of those journeys from Fort McMurray in the Suburban like, I can remember little bits and pieces of being at Woods Lake, and there was a trampoline they had dug it out so it was at ground level, so when you fell, which we all did, or somebody pushed you, you didn't fall off of it, you just fell on the ground, right? It was great. And then I remember one year, a wasp's nest had got under that. It was very funny watching the kids run for the lake, because I hadn't gone on the trampoline right away, so it was funny to watch them all to the lake, to get away from the wasp's nest. I remember like snippets, I remember learning to water ski for the first time and things like that. But you know what I really remember? The excitement of the journey. I remember sitting in the luggage and the mountains appear before you and just being like, when you're on vacation, this is gonna be awesome! Just being so like stifling your joy and excitement because it annoyed your parents. And your older brother who would jump into the back to beat you up. As I discovered. I just remember that being so like almost overcome with the excitement of what was about to happen for the next 2 or 3 weeks. Just incredible. And my dad's British, and we would go to England sometimes, and I remember the same feeling on the plane. Just, you can't really sleep, and everyone just wants the kids to shut up and sleep, right? And there's, you can't watch movies. There's not movies on flights then, so you're reading a book, but that doesn't hold you for very long, and you have your little crossword puzzles or whatever you're doing, and that doesn't hold you for very long, and they just want you to, shut up. But it's just so exciting. We're on a plane. We're going to England. This is just going to be incredible. See, we didn't know what we were going to do. We just knew it was going to be incredible. We knew that was going to happen. Now, imagine you walking with Jesus. Right? You're walking with Jesus. He's a cool guy. You just met him. Where are you going? We're going to a party. Excellent. We're going to a party with Jesus. Now imagine it's Jesus. You're not walking with Jesus. You're walking with Jesus. Are you kidding? I get to walk with Jesus? This is awesome. I don't know what's going to happen, but boy, is it going to be great. And what does he do? His mom comes up to him and says, hey, there's no wine. He says, so what's it to me? Mom, you're drunk. Go sit down. It doesn't say that. That was stupid. Should have said that. Send me an email. Yeah. There's a movie, I can't remember what it is, but the husband says something stupid to the wife in the car, and he says, ooh, I should take that back. And then she gets really mad and says, you can't get mad at me, I took it back. It doesn't work that way, unfortunately. They're walking with the Son of God, but they don't know what's about to happen. The wine runs out, and he says, just fill them with water, and changes it into wine. It's the first miracle he does, and it's that moment for those 5 disciples when everything must have changed, when their whole perspective must have just gone, whoa! What just happened? I thought we were walking with Jesus. Are you kidding me? The excitement of that, the walk back must have been phenomenal. 10 miles, so it's taken some time, but they had to have been like, all right, we are in for something now. We need to get some more people. What's Thomas doing? Let's get Thomas. He needs to see this stuff. This is going to be incredible. See, you got it, right? Yeah. Because he's doubting Thomas, so he needs to see it. Oh, come on, it was funny. See, we live in a world, as Christians, as believers, we live in a world that is all ready, but not yet. Do you get that? Jesus has already come. The work has already begun. We are already saved. But the kingdom on earth is not yet. His kingdom come, his will be done. Jesus has not yet returned to reign. We're already with Christ, but he has not yet come for the end times. If you're a theology student, it's called realized eschatology. And if you take it too far, it's heretical, so don't. Right? Because there are people who will teach you that the kingdom is already here, that it's already happened, there is no end times, we're fooling ourselves, Jesus will not return again. That's heresy. Okay? Just so you know, it's too far. The already and the not yet. We live in that tension. We're already with Christ. But the end has not yet happened. Already, but not yet. It's like going on vacation. You're already on vacation, but you're not yet relaxed. There's the excitement of it, but you're not yet there. As a church, we feel like we're in this place where we've had a period of rest, but something big is brewing. You can feel it, that this church is called to something incredible, but it hasn't happened yet. We're not sure what it is yet. We think it's going to be incredible. We want to be part of it. We want to be with Jesus, but right now we're with Jesus. We want to follow Christ and do whatever he asks us to do. And so we're walking faithfully, and we're going to be part of whatever he decides for us. It's already here, but it's not yet happened. We can already sense it, but we're not yet there. We're working on the building, but we're not yet in it. Next year, in the new building. The already and the not yet. Are we there yet? We're not. But we're on the journey. And Jesus turning water into wine is an example, a sample, a part of what we have in store for us. The miracles that he can do if we center ourselves on him and follow him. Unbelievable. So if we're walking with Jesus, that's good. But we need to walk with Jesus. Let me pray. Father God, thank you so much for sending your Son. We thank you for the incredible, powerful, amazing work that he does. We ask you to speak to us, to show us what you would have in store, to help us be of one mind, that we can follow passionately, excitedly, joy-filled in your steps. And we just ask you today that you would guide all of us to that new place.